Hello and welcome to the penultimate show here on day one in Kuala Lumpur. You are watching Guillaume Wafatapa going toe-to-toe in the feature match area. It's a pretty exciting time. The field has been decimated. Well, actually, we haven't killed a 10th part. We've killed 2/3 of the field, because that's what happens when 4 and 2 makes it in, right, Bill?
That's exactly correct, Rich.
Okay, so we have 5 players on perfect 6-0 records. Chang Chua of Singapore, you won't know a lot about him. To be honest, we don't. That's why you have Randy and BDM, right? Because they know everything. Then you got Martin Juza of the Czech Republic, kind of a regular Grand Prix European guy, not a great deal of form again. Ria Turakubo, Japanese. You're not, once again, here's another name we don't really know. Here's one you will know. Paul Cheon of the United States. Bill, you told us this morning the guy was ill. You didn't pick him for top 8 because he was like, yeah, I'm not really here. And then, oh, lo and behold, 6-0, thank you very much.
Yeah, and I was talking actually to Chris Lockman and Jacob Van Loonen, who did 10 drafts with the Chi Entourage yesterday in one single day. And they were complaining because they said Jacob said he won 8 of those drafts while Chris won the other 2. Paul Cheon 0-3'd some of them, and yet today, we'll see Paul Cheon continue in the draft into tomorrow, while Chris Lockman and Jacob Van Loonen will be enjoying the sights and sounds of Kuala Lumpur. So yeah. Cheon managed to pick it up, get through the illness, and he's doing fine. Yeah,
it's quite a good consolation, though. I mean, if you're going to be out of a tournament, I think like Barnsley in the UK probably doesn't have quite as many decent sites as Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. You know, I could cope with going 3-3 here, all things being equal. Now, also undefeated, must mention this guy, Mark Conkle of the USA. Do you know anything about him, Bill? Because he's new to me entirely.
He is one of those guys that has just sort of snuck up on the radar, but we're starting to see a resurgence in American magic. Both from the Midwest, we saw Mike Atron win a Pro Tour last year. We saw the Sliver Kids in San Diego who managed to win a Pro Tour out of nowhere. So I think Mark Conkle is no surprise to be doing well. Just another American who's trying to make his mark unexpectedly. I think that's something we can start to see more often from the U.S.
And we are going to talk a little bit in detail in this show about the state of U.S. Magic, some of the guys to watch out for. Meanwhile, though, one more undefeated player, not 6-0, not perfect, but from France, Jan Massicard. 5 wins and a draw, 16 points. Now, generally on day one, draws are rubbish because they don't get you the 3 points towards that crucial 12 to get you in. But once you have the draw, suddenly you're that point above everyone on, in theory, the same record. So that draw come tomorrow night could be really crucial to his top 8 chances. We go to the 5-1s. Got to hand it to you. You picked him. Nikolai Podovin of Russia. He heads the 5-1s. Shinga Kurihara, big name. Guillaume Wafatapa, we saw at the start of this show in feature match action. Shu Kimura of Japan. Now, he's come back to the game and really, he still knows his stuff.
Yep.
He's very definitely right up there. Nikolai Herzog, Hall of Famer. The Hall of Fame coming to party. Nico goes, well, it's limited. I'll cross the world and umpteen time zones because this is limited. That's what I do.
Yep. And we did, as a coverage team, the draft viewer on the pod with Nikolai Herzog. Sitting right next to him, John Finkel of all people. And man, that is exciting to watch those 2 Hall of Famers go head-to-head in the draft pod. And it was an interesting pod, so I'm excited to see what those 2 can put together.
Yeah, and of course, that draft pod straddles 2 days. Just 1 round tonight, the other 2 with the same decks tomorrow morning. Robert van Medevoort, Sebastian Thaler, 2 big European names, also 5-1. Now at 4-2, so in the running. And the weird thing about this format is that once you are in at 4-2, you've actually got a long time to catch up those 2 rounds. You look at sort of Paul Cheon at 6-0 and say someone like a Takuya Osawa, who we talked about at 1-2, and said if he can pull out a 3-0 in that hopefully substandard pod, which he did, he went 4-2. Now, he's got 9 more rounds to catch that 6-point gap to Cheon. You're going to see a lot of changes on the leaderboard tomorrow. Amongst the 4-2s, Nico Boni, Johan Sadigpour, Frank Karsten's in, Andre Muller's in. We've mentioned Osawa. Both Ruel brothers in, including Olivier, in last, quote, place, 119th place. He's in. Obviously, there are a lot of big names out, and in our final show, we will give you the big names that are not going to be here. And when I say big names, well, you heard me mention Saito yet? Don't think you have. Samura? Don't think I have. We'll talk about that in our final show. But let's turn to the Americans and to Bill, because strangely enough, he is American, and strangely enough, I'm not. So, Bill, what's the deal? We've got 21 US pros, which is a quarter of the field, pretty much. And how does it stack up against Japan? We've got a lot of level 4s and 5s. Mark the card for us. Who are the guys that we should be thinking, okay, we're going to see him up at the top of the leaderboard?
Well, I think anytime you have Paul Cheon in a day two, especially in an event like this, with as much preparation as he has put in, he's really been on fire. He's definitely one of the people that you want to watch with, and he's an easy pick. You know, he's one of those high-level guys, really the first American to dominate the pro-level club and actually draw comparisons to the Japanese players, which over the past 4 or 5 years has been a really big deal. And I think he and LSV, Luis Scott Vargas, Sam Stein, who top-aided in Valencia, even David Irvin, all represent players who are working together to reinvigorate tournament magic and sort of bring us back to the days where we had YMG, Your Move Games, and the guys from CMU battling, always taking the top roles. So I'm definitely excited to see what Cheon can do.
Something that's very interesting, though, about some of the names you've given me there, I particularly think of David Irvin and also Cheon and LSV. They are all very softly spoken guys like yourself, quiet and unassuming. They really let their magic do the talking. And that's almost a complete reverse of the kind of image of magic in the early days where you would come as, I don't know, a first-time European to your pro tour in the States and go, oh, I'm going to get eaten alive by the, quote, brash Americans. That's really, really changed. Why is that?
Well, there's a lot of reasons, Rich, but I think one of the primary credits is that America started losing. It's really easy to be, you know, sort of a confident, a confident American when you just win everything. And as soon as that changed, the sort of Gabe Walls of the game sort of left, and these more quiet, soft-spoken guys who just let the cards do the talking really came into power, and they're doing well as a result.
Do you think there is also an element of learning from the Japanese in that? Because you never, obviously, there is a language barrier, so you don't hear the Japanese complain about the land screw or my opponent did this or that, but they do just seem to have an attitude that it's just cards, it's just probability, things happen that go wrong, it's fine, because as long as I'm good and I do the best I can, there will be another pro tour. I spoke to a couple of Japanese guys who had a horrible day today, and they're just like, yeah, but I'm in Malaysia, I'm having a great time, I'm good at magic, I know I'm good at magic, Hollywood's down the line, what's to complain about? And that's a great attitude.
Yeah. Definitely. I think we've seen some more Americans learning from that because the Japanese have become so good. I agree.
So apart from the new generation, stack them up for me. Look at Cheon and Luis Scott Vargas against, say, a Finkel and a Zvi. Let's go 2 against 2, 2 on 2, two-headed giant. Who wins?
Well, that's tough to say. You have to look at a guy like John Finkel and Zvi Mashevitz. They've given so much to the game. They're in the Hall of Fame. They really were dominant in their day. And you look at these new players, and it's just comparing Babe Ruth to Barry Bonds. You know, it's something that statisticians like to do, but it's a tough comparison to make because the games were different. Finkel's obviously moved away from the game a little bit. Zvi Mashevitz seems to be reinvigorated with his induction into the Hall of Fame. I think we'll see him back on tour a lot more consistently. If I had to pick, honestly, I'd say it'd be a coin flip. I'd be rooting for the new guys a little bit because I know them, I've worked with them, but the old guys, man, you'd love to see them in a top 8 winning. So
yeah, and I mean that could be one of the big stories tomorrow. John Finkel at 5-1. We will let you know if he is poised at the top of the leaderboard on 6-1 when we come back with our wrap-up show here at Day 1 in Kuala Lumpur. Until then, I'm Rich Hagan for Bill Stark saying bye.